Good morning, everyone. Wanted to come down to the shelter and make a video, talk about some knives that I own and that I carry or have carried at certain times. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 I wanted to talk about today, and just what they mean to me. The knife that I have on me today is made by Condor Knives, which is a company there in El Salvador now. I think at one time they were an American company, but they moved down there, and they make great knives, very affordable knives. This particular knife here is the Kephart. This was designed after the knife that Horace Kephart carried with him back in his time. I've had this knife here for probably 2 years now. I got it for Christmas, and my wife gave it to me, and it's been a real good knife. It's real easy to sharpen. It's full tang. It has a good back on it. It's real sharp, and you can process a lot of stuff. When you're working with fat lighter, you can really shave off and make you a lot of fire dust, I call it, when you're using your flint and steel to start your fire. But this little knife, it's a good knife. Like I said, it's full tang. I've done some batoning with it, splitting small pieces of wood, kindling, and I believe this knife is 40 to 50 bucks. Excellent knife. Now, I see a lot of people on YouTube, they will buy these knives and they will put them through torture tests, but I don't quite understand that. First of all, my finances do not allow me to do that. Second of all, I don't understand why you would want to take a tool as important as your knife and destroy it. I have not had any problem with this knife, or any of my knives for that fact, but I see people doing it, and kind of blows my mind that they will take their knife and just see how far they can take it. I'll leave that to the knife manufacturer. Now, I have had some knives break on me, but the only knife that let me say this, I broke the tip off of a buck lock blade knife one time, but I was throwing it. So I was doing something with a knife I shouldn't have been doing. And I have broken a bunch of throwing knives. And what I've learned about the throwing knives, those knives with holes in them, in the handle and along the blade, those things look great, but they're not practical. They break, they snap. Every one that I've had, even some throwing axes, they have those neat holes and little designs all through them. They will snap. But the knives that I have some cold steel knives, and they're solid. I have not yet broken any of those. Another knife I have that is by Condor is the bush lore. Now, this knife is a little beefier. This knife was given to me. I've had this knife probably 6 or 7 years. And this is a real good knife. It had that black finish on it too, but the person who gave it to me, he had worked it off. He's real good with making tools and knives, and I'm like him. I don't like those black finishes. This carbon steel, same as the Kephart. If you can see the differences, the spines, they're thick. This is thicker. It's real sharp on it. You work your ferro rod real good, throws sparks real well, and this knife is a little beefier. I've carried this knife with me. I still carry it from time to time. It does anything you need it to do. I've processed wood, processed game. You can do some carving with it. You name it, you can do it. Excellent knife. This is the Condor bush lore. This knife is also in the range of 40 to 50 bucks. If this knife was made here in the United States, I bet you either one of these two knives would probably run $200 to $300. I know $100 or more, easy, easy. I'm sure it's going to be closer to the $200 range if these were made in the United States. And they're excellent knives. They have good knife makers there at Condor. I really enjoy this knife. Probably one of the beefiest knives that is a custom knife that I own is this knife here. This is the PLSK1 by, I believe it is Blind Horse Knives or Battle Horse Knives. The company split up, and it's now, I believe, called Blind Horse. If I've got that information wrong, please forgive me. Now, I've had this knife right here. This is definitely a workhorse of a knife, and I have done all kind of things with this knife. Man, this has just been a great knife through and through. I actually got this knife by, I made these little bracelets. I made a bunch of them. I called them my Get Through It bracelets. And, I made a bunch of them probably about 10 years ago, I want to say. And I sold enough of these. I sold these things at, I believe it was $10 a piece. And I made enough money to purchase this knife off of Dave Canterbury's site. This was a knife that he had designed. It's designed after a 18th century style frontier belt knife. This knife is amazing. I have done chopping, game processing, man, and when I say chopping, I have chopped like small trees down like you would. When I carry this knife, I don't need to carry a hatchet. This knife, it does it. This knife will do anything you need it to do. I've carved with this knife. I'm sure if I had to defend myself from whatever that I run into out in the woods, fortunately, I've not had to do that. But you could defend yourself very well with this knife. This, the PLSK, I believe it's the Pathfinder logo school knife. It's got Canterbury's logo on it here. This was the first knife, I believe, that had his logo on it. And like I said, I believe this is Blind Horse Knife that originally made this one. They split up, and I believe now it is Battle Horse, I believe is what it's called. Comes with a cool sheath here, and of course I've learning from Canterbury and just other people in bushcrafting, I've made me a little kit on it, and I carry this knife a lot in the winter time. It's heavy, but it is a good knife to have on you. And with this knife, you don't really need to carry. I don't carry a hatchet when I have this knife. This knife will do it all. And another knife, I picked this knife up in town at a local hardware store that I frequent. This is a Baco. This is made in Sweden. This little knife, I carry this with me when I deer hunt, when I hike, a day hike or something. This little knife right here, it's kind of real similar to the Mora Companions. This is a stainless steel blade, I do believe. Yeah, this is stainless steel. These three knives that I just talked about, they're all three carbon steel, which I like carbon steel because I like the way they age and get that patina on them. But this is a fine little knife. I believe it's a Scandi style blade, grind on it, easy to sharpen. I have done a lot. Now this is not a full tang knife. I believe it's what they call a rat tail.